Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advancement Center, and welcome again to the reading of The Magic of Life by Robert Young. And I continue today with chapter 36. Simon Guthridge's house was awash, and to get to the front steps, it looked like they would have to take their shoes off. Bill had his big all-weather shoes on, and he tested the water and found that it only came up to the top of his shoes. It did not even get in to wet his socks. So one by one, he put them all on his back. First of all, Suzanne. He carried her across to the steps. Suzanne had Martha in her arms. Then Bill went back and picked up Jamie and Samuel and brought them over before going back to pick up the stroller and brought it across. By the time he had done his third trip, there was Simon standing on the front porch with a big smile on his face. Somehow, it was as if he knew they were coming. He had just accepted the fact that they had turned up, and he was so happy. Simon said, come in, I've been expecting you." "How did you know we were coming?" asked Suzanne. "I don't know. I seemed to be told, but if you hadn't turned up, then I would have thought I was imagining it. When you did turn up, it just confirmed to me that I knew. I felt like I knew," answered Simon. "You call that intuition?" said Suzanne. "A little bit more than that, actually," said Simon. "It's just like somebody tells you, but you weren't listening." "Ah, Simeon again," said Suzanne. "Possibly, but this time I think it was Sally," said Simon. Suzanne felt the presence of Sally immediately. She nodded her head and agreed with Simon. "Yes, it's Sally." "I agree with you, Simon. It's got to be Sally." He wrapped his arms around Suzanne as they walked through the door. "You've always known these things, and I'm sure Sally would be pleased that you're aware of her presence," he said. "I didn't realize you knew when someone was around." "Suzanne," said Bill. Simon turned to Bill and asked, "How long have you known this lady? She is more psychic than any person I know." "But why do you go to psychics?" asked Bill. Suzanne blushed a little. Simon said, "This little lady here can tell you anything about anything. She doesn't like to say. When she was little, she used to tell us everything well before it happened. I think you'll find that Jamie's very similar." Bill smiled and agreed. "I'm sure Jamie's like that. It's just that I didn't know Suzanne was." "You've been holding back on me, Suzanne." Suzanne, who was still blushing, said, "Simon, you know that I don't like to tell anybody." Simon said at the top of his voice, "Yes, but this man is going to be your husband. So what are you talking about?" Suzanne looked at Bill, and Bill said, "No, I didn't tell him." Suzanne said, "Don't you talk about me, Simon? You seem to know everything before we got here. We came here to tell you things, and now we don't have to. You already know." "Oh, yes, you have to," said Simon. "I want to hear all about it. I want to know what you two are up to." Bill and Suzanne laughed, and Jamie ran down the hall in excitement. Samuel followed, and Martha got up off the floor and waddled off after them. Martha was a little bit slow at walking, but now at the age of 2. When she ran, she almost took off. She went from a waddle to a run. Halfway down the hall, she started to run and could not stop at the other end, and she slammed straight into the wall. Everybody looked, but no one said anything. Suzanne held her breath, waiting for Martha's reaction. But Martha rolled over on the floor, got up, squealed, and immediately ran in the opposite direction, with Jamie after her. Samuel was still trying to figure out which way they had gone. Bill laughed, and Suzanne sighed with relief. The last thing she needed right now was an upset child. Simon commented, "Children are amazing. If they're having fun, then nothing hurts. If they're not having fun, then everything hurts. I suppose it's a little bit like us and it seems like I must be having fun at the moment because nothing hurts. Suzanne laughed. She knew Simon was having a bit of a joke. I've just made tea, so I hope you're both ready for it, said Simon. I even have some cookies for the children. How did you make cookies? Asked Suzanne. Oh, you'd be surprised, said Simon. I have my contacts, or should I say, I have my cooks. Suzanne's eyebrows lifted, and she said, Ah, an unknown admirer. You wished, laughed Simon. Come on, Simon, tell us all about it, Suzanne demanded playfully. Simon grinned sheepishly and said, I do have some friends, you know. Come on, Simon, who brought over the cookies? Asked Suzanne again. Oh, it was just Gert from up the road, answered Simon. Oh, Gert from up the road, hey? Teased Suzanne. How long has she been visiting you? Not very long, answered Simon. How long is that? Asked Suzanne, pressing Simon for answers. Well, I'm not sure whether it's 10 or 20 years, said Simon. Bill burst into laughter. He could see that Suzanne had been sucked into another joke. Simon was in fine form today. Suzanne soon caught on and said, Oh, Simon, you've done it to me again. Well, you will be inquisitive, he continued. But Gert was an old friend of mine at school. While Sally was around, Gert wouldn't come near the place, but she used to visit Sally if I wasn't here. Funny bird, now that Sally has gone, she'll visit me and does so quite often. She's great company, and I suppose if I was a bit younger, then I might do something more about it. Here we go again. What are you leading me into this time? Simon asked Suzanne. Simon laughed and said, Oh, well, I suppose I better lay off. Come and have your cup of tea. When they got to the table, everything was prepared. You did not know that we were coming, or have you got some more visitors? Asked Suzanne. Bill jumped straight in and said, Suzanne, don't go there, or you'll get caught again. Let her go, let her go. I don't have any more visitors. I just knew that you were coming, answered Simon. All right, we'll call it quits, said Suzanne. Fine, now have your tea before it gets cold, said Simon. They sat down to a lovely cup of tea and some biscuits, and the conversation filled them with delight. Simon was so joyful and light-hearted about his whole life and about everything. It seemed like he'd had a complete turnaround, as only weeks before he was having difficulty staying around. When he had given them the money, he had almost decided he was ready to go. At that stage, they had not known what money was, and now they were back and ready to learn. Okay, what is it you want to know? Asked Simon. Everything, Simon, said Bill. Simon answered, Well, you'd better give me some background. Bill started. He told Simon about the first meeting with Simeon and the first time he had been told that they could not be married straight away. He told Simon how they had decided they would be married. He also told Simeon, telling him to sell the boat and how he had decided he could not possibly sell the boat and that Simeon was being a little bit pushy. Simon laughed and said to Bill, You know, Bill, you can't do much about it. Simeon's only telling you what's happening. He's not telling you what to do. Well, we'll see about that, said Bill. Simon cut in very quickly and said, Bill, don't oppose anything. Just go with it and see what happens. Bill backed off and realized that he had gone into his old mode. He said, I'm sorry, Simon. I did that this morning as well. Suzanne was relieved that Bill was able to see his reaction so quickly. Okay, we'll recap on everything, and we'll start with the bits you left out. What you missed was that Simeon wants you to actually learn. He wants you to experience. He wants you to find out for yourself, said Simon. Suzanne's mouth fell open. Simon repeated the words of Simeon clearly to Suzanne and Bill. Bill was embarrassed that he had obviously missed all of the things that were said. Simon continued. He told them, You must know by now that there's a connection between all of us, and that Simeon makes sure that each party is aware of everything they need to be aware of. It's like when you're fishing, Bill. Suzanne knows when you've returned. She knows how you are going while you are fishing and while you're away. The pair of you know if there's anything amiss. When you connect normally, there's an assistance that make sure that your communication is maintained. So when you're told to speak to me, I'm told at the same time what to tell you about. Bill and Suzanne were all ears. Their eyes were set on Simon's eyes. They seemed to glow as he spoke. There was a slight glint in his eyes each time he came up with a special message. Both Suzanne and Bill longed for the time when they could be as clear as Simon. So the first thing, Bill, said Simon, is that you understand money. What you got from me were gold coins, and they're gold because that's the standard that money is based on. How people use money is the same way you use fish. They trade with money. The big advantage with money is that you don't have to have a need to be able to use it. You see, you trade fish for vegetables, but if you've got too many fish, you can end up with too many vegetables. And so you have to make sure that you end up with nothing on every trade. But if you have money, you can convert all of the fish to money, and then you can trade for anything. So you can trade for vegetables, you can trade for clothes anytime you want because you don't have to keep money fresh. But what happens to all of the fish? Asked Bill. They'll go off. One step at a time, said Simon. But I can't see the value in money. It's no different to fish, said Bill. Simon stopped for a moment and allowed the information to flow to him. He said, look at it this way, Bill. If you catch a lot of fish, you need something to store them in. And if the person who has just grown the vegetables doesn't need any fish, you can't get their vegetables. You have to trade with somebody else to get whatever the vegetable grower needs. The vegetable grower may not need anything that you can get on this island, or they may need a boat, and they will try to trade vegetables for your boat. But they won't have enough vegetables to cover the trade of your boat, let alone the fact that you won't trade your boat unless you trade it for something that will get you another boat. So trading becomes very complex. Once you get into areas of boats, there's nothing you can trade for the boat unless somebody trades their house. Yes, I can see that, but I didn't have to trade for my boat. I built it, said Bill. Yes, that's right, but you traded for every component of that boat, explained Simon. Yes, agreed Bill. And then when the boat is together, if you want another boat, you have to do the same, and you're stuck with that boat. You can't pass it on and then get a new one. No, said Bill. A boat will outlast me, and it will probably be good for my children. Simon stopped. He knew that he had to go in another direction. He knew that Bill had been brought up in a world of trading that actually worked for him, so he took another tack. He asked Bill, how do you think you could get a ticket on a boat to go to England? Bill answered, I have no idea. What can I trade? You need money, said Simon. Now I see what you're talking about, said Bill. So they don't accept fish. That's correct, said Simon. They need money to trade for fuel. They need money to pay the people who work on the boat. You've got me again, said Bill. What do you mean by pay? I better go back again, said Simon. On the boat, everything is traded in money, even your food. So if you've got money in your pocket, you can buy food. If you work, you don't get food, you get money. Seems a bit useless, said Bill. You work to eat. You don't work for money. Simon sighed and said, that's fine, Bill. But when you get out into the big world, there are rules that change the way you trade. And the rule is that there is a common trading method, so everything is traded for money. And that way, everybody has access to everything. Bill thought for a minute and said, I suppose it would work if you had a lot of people. Simon felt the relief. He said, I'll go a little bit further, Bill. If we had 100 people visiting this island, all of a sudden they would want food. They would want to sleep somewhere. There wouldn't be enough room to accommodate them. There wouldn't be enough food to feed them because we didn't know ahead of time. But if you knew there were lots of people visiting all of the time, you can make provisions and you can sell your goods for money. You can accumulate money just like I did, and you can keep it as long as you like if you turn it into gold, because gold is the main standard, just like the fish is your standard. Bill started to catch on, but it was still a little difficult for him. Jamie walked up and asked, Bill, can I buy a cookie? Bill turned around with a grin on his face and said, Yes, Jamie, how much money do you have? Lots, said Jamie. Bill said, Show me on your fingers. Jamie showed him 4 fingers and said, 4. Bill said, That's fine. That's how old you are. She said, Yes, I'm 4, and Samuel is 3, and Martha is 2, and I want to buy a cookie. Okay, said Bill. He turned to Simon and asked, Now what do we do, Simon? Simon answered, You say to Jamie that she can have the cookie for 10 cents. Jamie protested, But I don't have 10 cents. Bill looked up at Simon, and Simon said, But I can lend you 10 cents. Then you can buy a cookie. Simon said, Okay, here's 10 cents, and you can buy a cookie. And then the next time you have 10 cents, you have to give it back to me. I see. So where's the 10 cents? Asked Bill. Simon put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a handful of coins. Wow, is that money? Asked Bill. Yes, that's money, answered Simon. Now here's the 10 cents. See what it looks like. I'll give that to Jamie, and Jamie can give it to you, and then you will give Jamie the cookie. When you pass it over, you say, Thanks very much. Jamie gives you the money first, and then you give Jamie the cookie. This is fun, said Bill. Suzanne looked on and knew that Jamie was assisting. In her own simple way, she had moved in and made money clear in Bill's mind. Bill was starting to get excited about the whole thing, and he wanted to see all of the coins that Simon had in his hand. They had gotten past the first step, and Bill was so enthusiastic about the new money system that he took in everything that Simon could give. It was well after dark when Simon and Bill finally got to a break in their conversation. Suzanne gave Simon a small wave. He looked up and said, Bill, it's time to go. I've just had the wave. Suzanne blushed a little and said, Stop it, Simon. Simon laughed, but Bill did not know what was going on. Suzanne and Simon had their little interaction where everything she tried to keep secret, Simon revealed. Although it did not mean much to Bill, it was a great little game between Simon and Suzanne. Time to go, asked Bill. I'm afraid so, said Simon. You've got a lot to do, and remember, I'm available at any time. Fine, I'll be back. Probably tomorrow, if that's okay, asked Bill. That's fine, answered Simon. I'll see you later. Simon stood and gave everybody a big hug. He gave the children another cookie and kissed Suzanne. Suzanne quietly said in Simon's ear, It's good to see you feeling so well, Simon. It's great to be alive, Suzanne, answered Simon. I'll see you tomorrow. Off they all went, back through the puddle, the same way they entered the house. The sun had almost disappeared, but the track was almost dry. Bill knew that his bricks would be in really good condition by the time he got home. As they walked along the track, Bill went over most of the information that Simon had given him. He kept telling Samuel, Martha, and Jamie all about money. It was as if he was teaching himself by telling the children. He was selling cookies to Jamie and toys to Samuel. He sold teddy bears to Martha and books to Suzanne. By the time they had arrived home, Bill was very clear about how money worked and was very happy to settle down and finish off the jobs around the house. Suzanne had taken great pleasure in watching Bill throughout the day. She could feel something growing inside her that was very hard to explain. She had no time with her friends to talk about her feelings, and so the more she watched Bill, the more she wanted to be alongside him and wanted to talk to him. She could see Bill was becoming so engrossed in what he was doing that he had little time to take notice of her feelings. She was not worried about it, but she knew that it would cause her difficulty if she continued to pull herself apart as Bill grew. She knew that she could see a long way ahead, and she knew that if she hadn't had that ability, she would probably already be fighting for Bill's attention. It was a little bit different when she was with Bill. While he was out fishing, she knew that he was totally engrossed in what he was doing, and she had no sense of being left out. But in this growth that they were going through at the moment, she knew that it would not be long before she did feel left out, and she had nobody to talk to about it. Suzanne immediately focused on Simeon and looked deeply into the eyes that she saw only a short time ago before Bill came into her life. As she looked deeply into Simeon's eyes, her vision became real, and there stood Simeon before her once again. She quickly blinked her eyes to see if Simeon would disappear, to see whether it was her imagination or not. But when she opened them again, he was still there. She turned away from him, but then turned to face him again, and he was still there. Suzanne said immediately that she had known of his presence. "Thanks so much for being here, Simeon. I seem to be heading off in the wrong direction somewhere. I seem to be concerned about something that I can see and about the direction that I am heading in. I just need someone to talk to." Simeon smiled and said, "Yes, I need someone to talk to also, Suzanne." Suzanne was surprised. "You mean you need someone to talk to?" Simeon said, "Yes, I enjoy interactions, but for you to bring me into reality takes quite an effort on your part. That gives me quite a thrill. So to stand here in front of you now is all your work. It's a magic that only you have. Many other people hear me, but not many see me." The feelings within Suzanne grew to a point where she felt that she would almost burst. "Simeon, why is it that I feel left out? Why is it that Bill is going ahead so quickly and the children seem to be following him, but I'm just standing still?" she asked. Simeon smiled again and answered, "Suzanne, this is all your creation. Do you call that standing still?" "Oh, yes, but that's different," replied Suzanne. Simeon slowly answered, "Nothing's different, Suzanne. In a very short period of time, you have created a man in your life, happy children, a beautiful family, an abundance that you didn't have before. And now you're taking this whole family into a new adventure, one that will take you off this island and one that will transform Bill into somebody that he never knew he could be. This is all you're doing." Suzanne was a little confused. "But I don't know what's going on," she said. "That's true," said Simeon, "but you're happy about what's going on." "Yes, but I'm not happy about the way that I seem to be reacting," answered Suzanne. "Ah, very good use of words," said Simeon. "Seem to be, hey?" Suzanne stopped for a moment. "Well, you know what I mean. How I will act if I keep going this way." "That's right, if you keep going this way," said Simeon. "Are you playing games with me?" asked Suzanne. "Yes, I am. The same way you are playing games with me," replied Simeon. "But I don't understand," said Suzanne. "Well, you have no intentions of going in the direction that you saw," said Simeon. Suzanne looked at him with a sparkle in her eye and answered, "Well, that's right. And I have no intention of letting you go that way," said Simeon. Suzanne again looked at Simeon with a smile on her face and said, "Yeah, that's right. So we're playing a game," said Simeon. Suzanne giggled a little and said, "I suppose you're right. In fact, there's nothing wrong," said Simeon. Suzanne said, "But—" Simeon immediately stopped her and said, "But nothing. There's nothing wrong. There never was, and there never will be. You have a vision of what could go wrong if you keep going in one direction, and you immediately change it. If you dwell on it, if you talk to anybody about it, you'll make it real. Allow yourself to see things and allow yourself to cancel them. Allow yourself to sample what could happen and also allow yourself to reject it. Allow yourself to keep checking so that you know that you have the best of everything. So when you think you are heading in a certain direction, look at it and look into the future and see where it takes you. Be quite willing to reverse everything immediately and take it in the direction where everything is perfect. Suzanne smiled and said, "You're amazing." "But so are you," said Simeon. And as he said that, his figure started to disappear. "Don't go yet, Simeon," pleaded Suzanne. "It's time," said Simeon. "Another appointment, you know." "You will come back?" asked Simeon. "If you invite me," answered Simeon. "Bye for now, Suzanne." And with that, Simeon immediately disappeared. Suzanne stood there wondering how he did that. She then suddenly came into focus again and wondered what was happening to the children. There she was standing in the laundry. She seemed to have disappeared for a while, and that was when Simeon had appeared, and she had forgotten about the children and where they were and where Bill was. A sense of panic came over her. The voice came back very quickly. "Sample it, and if it's not perfect, leave it alone," said Simeon. Suzanne immediately understood and dropped the feeling of panic and walked slowly out of the laundry, wondering where she was, but with a smile on her face and a very special feeling in her heart. There, just outside the laundry, was Martha playing with her little toys, and Samuel was out in the yard with Bill checking out the bricks. But she could not see Jamie, but she knew that she was okay. Suzanne picked up Martha and walked over to where Samuel was sitting, and suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a movement and looked around. There was Jamie. She was dancing around like a little fairy, and that beautiful bird that they had forgotten about was fluttering just above her head and just out of her reach. It was almost like it was standing still and playing with her. As Jamie danced around, it would come in and land on her head, on her hand or head, before fluttering off again. The two of them were playing, and it seemed like they knew one another. The bird seemed extremely happy, and Jamie most certainly was. Suzanne knew that she was dancing with a fairy. Jamie had decided to go and play with the fairy. Suzanne knew that the fairy was there, but she could not see it. She just knew it was there. She quietly walked over, touched Bill on the shoulder, and pointed to Jamie. She put her finger to her lips to tell Bill to keep quiet. Bill turned around, and they both stood there watching the joyful play of Jamie, the fairy, and the bird. Everything was quiet except for the tweet of the beautiful bird. It was an unusual species that they had never seen before, with beautiful colors and such a light movement. It seemed to sparkle in the sunlight, and as the sun was going down, the rays seemed to come through its wings and cast a shadow over Jamie. Suddenly, Samuel leapt up and ran over to Jamie. He started to play, and Martha wiggled in Suzanne's arms and grizzled a bit. Bill said, "Let her go." Then off she went in her normal waddle and suddenly burst into a run across the grass. Just before she arrived at Jamie, she hit the ground with a thud and rolled over. She sat up laughing, and Jamie reached down as she was dancing and picked Martha up with one hand. It was as if Martha had no weight at all. They all danced and laughed, and Suzanne knew that they were in a magical place with some magical children, and she was beside her magical husband-to-be. Suzanne must have been speaking to Simeon for some time, because as she looked around, all the debris from the chicken shed had been removed from the side of the house. She could see the massive crack and how it had started to wash away. Suzanne said to Bill, "It's quite a big job, isn't it?" "Yes, it's a bit bigger than I thought. I may have to make some more bricks, and I'll certainly make some bricks to hold up what's left of the chicken shed. I think we can do it in a different way, but I don't know whether I'll be able to get around to the whole lot in one go." "I need to go fishing," said Bill. Yes, I think you do need to go fishing, Bill. There's something in the back of my mind about tomorrow's fishing, and I know that sometime tonight we'll get a little more insight into what it is. You definitely need to go, though. I suggest that you don't do too much on the house at this stage, said Suzanne. Well, I'll just pull out a few of the bricks, said Bill. Suddenly, an urgent message came into Suzanne's consciousness. She repeated it with such force that Bill looked up quickly to find out what was wrong. Suzanne suddenly said, "No, don't touch the house." "What's wrong?" asked Bill. "Oh," she said, "I'm sorry. That wasn't me. It seemed to come from somewhere else. It came out of my mouth, but it wasn't from me." "It sounded pretty serious," said Bill, now a little concerned. "It did, didn't it?" said Suzanne. "I suppose we better not touch the house at this stage." "Okay, so maybe we'll gather the children and go for a bit of a wander around the bush and have an early night," suggested Bill. "We've had a big walk today, Bill. It's been a big day. Let's just have an early night," said Suzanne. "That's fine," said Bill. "We'll do that." "Come on, Jamie, Samuel, and Martha. Let's go inside," called Bill. There was an immediate response from Jamie. She turned around. Her face was glowing, and she said, "The fairy said 2 more minutes, Bill." Bill looked at Suzanne, and she nodded as he replied to Jamie, "Okay, we'll just sit on the step and watch you." "Okay," said Jamie, and around they went in circles again. Jamie, Samuel, and Martha, and the new little bird, who they had named Mandy. Bill wondered if Mandy herself was in there with the group playing with the fairy. It was as if Suzanne knew what Bill was thinking, and she said, "Yes, Mandy's there, both Mandys." "Can you see her?" asked Bill. "No, I just know," answered Suzanne. "You'll have to teach me more about this, Suzanne," said Bill. "I will," said Suzanne. "Just stay with us for a while and you'll find out." Bill laughed. He loved to sit beside Suzanne. He knew that special feeling that she had thought about earlier and spoken to Simeon about. He knew that feeling was there with them. He cuddled up alongside Suzanne and said to her, "You know I love to just sit and talk to you. There will be times when I can't, but every time I'm with you, that's what I want to do." Suzanne turned and smiled at him. "You're very intuitive, Bill, aren't you?" "Yes, whatever that means," answered Bill. "It means a lot," Suzanne replied. Bill's heart opened up as he held Suzanne close and caressed her. He made everything right for Suzanne again. The children suddenly stopped playing, and it seemed like in that instant the light disappeared, and there was a strange feeling. By the time Jamie, Samuel, and Martha had got back to where Suzanne and Bill were sitting, it seemed like it was nighttime. "It's time to eat and to go to bed," said Jamie. Suzanne laughed and said, "Okay, inside, all of you." And off they went, in through the door and straight into their favorite places. They all seemed to have their own little places to play in the kitchen and dining area. It all seemed to be one area, but they knew the difference. Each one of them had their little toys and books, and they busied themselves very quickly. Jamie loved to read, and she had a spot where the candle could be easily lit. The main light that lit the kitchen filled the rest of her pages so that she could see very clearly. She read many books, many of the books that Bill had brought in. Bill had gathered books for many years because he had always loved books, but he was not able to read properly. When he had gone back to his small hut, he would open a special carry case that he kept his books in to make sure they stayed in good condition. He would then bring back a book about once a week to show everybody how good he was. In fact, he brought them back so Jamie could teach him, and together they had managed to read quite a few books. Samuel had a little wooden truck. They were not sure where that had come from, but it seemed to be very special to him. Martha had her teddy bears and dolls and the hand-me-downs from Jamie. Jamie still loved her doll and would always sit with it. Bill busied himself helping Suzanne prepare their meal. Bill said quite casually. I think I'll get up fairly early in the morning and head down to the boat to make sure it's in good order. It would have taken a bit of a lashing. It has managed to survive cyclones before, but you never know. There may be some work to be done. We'll all come down with you in the morning, Bill, just to see you on your way and make sure everything's okay, said Suzanne. That would be nice, said Bill. You know, I've been thinking about selling the boat, but I don't know how I could possibly sell it or who would buy it. If I did sell it, I'm not really sure what else I'd do. Have you got any ideas? I've never thought about it, Bill. Maybe we should kick that around and ask Simeon what his opinion is, advised Suzanne. Okay, said Bill, we'll do that. The night seemed to go very fast. They all ate together, then went to bed and slept. And that's the end of chapter 36. And with that, as always, I wish you a perfect life, perfect health, and a magic future. Until next time, thank you.